Dr. Taiwan wiped his sweaty palms on his pants. The landing pad hummed with activity as soldiers, scientists, and government officials waited for the alien ship. Today, humans would meet aliens for the first time. Nervous? Asked Subin, his research partner. Of course, Taiwan said. We've prepared 5 years for this moment. The sky darkened as the Najaran ship descended. It was smooth and silver, shaped like a leaf, with no visible engines. It landed without a sound. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then a door appeared where there had been only smooth metal before. 3 aliens walked out. They were tall and thin with blue-gray skin that shimmered in the sunlight. Their eyes were large, with pupils that changed shape as they looked around. They wore simple white clothes that seemed to flow like water. But it was what came next that made everyone gasp. Behind each alien walked a creature that looked like a leopard, but much larger. These animals had spotted golden fur that gleamed perfectly. Their muscles rippled as they moved with impossible grace. Their eyes showed an intelligence that no Earth cat had ever displayed. The leopards, whispered Subin, just like they described in their messages. President Kim stepped forward. Welcome to Earth. I am President Kim of the United Korean Republic, representing Earth's United Nations. The middle alien bowed slightly. I am Ambassador Sol of the Najaran Collective. We are pleased to make contact with your species. Sol's voice was musical, almost like singing. The translator devices worked perfectly, but everyone could hear the beautiful original sounds beneath the translation. The ambassador pointed to the large cat-like creature by his side. This is Terrace, my personal leopard, a product of 500 years of careful genetic engineering. Our greatest achievement. The leopard bowed its head, then looked at the humans with eyes that seemed too aware, too understanding. President Kim introduced Dr. Taiwan as Earth's leading xenobiologist. The scientist stepped forward, trying to hide his excitement. Ambassador Sol, we have many questions about your biology and culture, Taiwan said. And if I may, about your magnificent companions. The Najaran's mouth formed what might have been a smile. Of course. The leopards are the pride of our civilization. Each one represents centuries of precise genetic work. One of the other aliens spoke. They understand complex commands, can solve advanced problems, and bond completely with their chosen Najaran. They are perfect hunting companions, guards, and friends. As if to demonstrate, Ambassador Sol made a small gesture with 3 fingers. His leopard immediately sat, then rolled onto its back, then stood on its hind legs, all in one fluid motion. Impressive, said Taiwan. We have similar animals called leopards on Earth, though they are smaller and not as. He paused, searching for the right word. Advanced. The 3 Najarans exchanged glances that Taiwan couldn't read. Perhaps you will show us these creatures during our stay, said Cole. We are always interested in comparative biology. Of course, Taiwan replied, though something in the alien's tone made him uneasy. The formal greetings continued, with speeches and exchanges of symbolic gifts. Throughout it all, the leopards remained perfectly still unless their masters gave them subtle signals. Sometimes they would move to a new position or scan the crowd in synchronized motions. Later, at the welcome reception, Taiwan found himself alone with one of the junior Najaran officials. Your Earth is beautiful, the alien said, introducing himself as Kelv. Though your methods of managing your wildlife seem unusual to us. How so? Asked Taiwan. We noticed that you allow many species to remain in their natural state. You even protect them from improvement. Kelv's tone was polite but carried a hint of confusion, perhaps even disgust. We'd value natural diversity, Taiwan explained. Evolution has created amazing adaptations over millions of years. Kelv's eyes shifted, their pupils changing to narrow slits. A primitive approach, but interesting. Our ancestors thought similarly before they understood the superiority of designed perfection. Taiwan was saved from responding when President Kim called for attention to make a toast. But as the reception continued, he watched the leopards closely. They were beautiful, yes, perfect, even. But there was something unsettling about their identical movements, their manufactured grace. That night, Ta-won called his colleague Han-jun at the Korean Wildlife Conservation Center. "They're coming to visit the leopard sanctuary next week," he told him. "Be prepared. These aliens are different. They see our approach to wildlife as primitive." "Let them," Han-jun replied. "Our leopards may not be engineered to perfection, but they have something." The morning was bright at the Korean Wildlife Conservation Center. Han-jun checked his watch for the 5th time. The Najuran delegation was due any minute. "Everything ready?" he asked Do-hyun, who was setting up the presentation screens. "Yes, though I don't know why you're so nervous. They're just visitors." Han-jun shook his head. "Not just visitors. According to Ta-won, these aliens think our entire approach to wildlife is wrong." A sleek black vehicle pulled up outside. Han-jun straightened his jacket and walked to the entrance. The doors opened, and out stepped a tall Najuran scientist named Ril Nexon, followed by his leopard and 2 human guides. Han-jun bowed slightly. "Welcome to our conservation center. I am Han-jun, the lead wildlife specialist." Ril Nexon's large eyes blinked slowly. "I appreciate your welcome. This is Maris, my leopard companion." The creature beside him was magnificent, golden spotted fur that seemed to catch the sunlight perfectly, muscles that moved like liquid under its skin. It stood perfectly straight, watching everything with intelligent eyes. "Please follow me," said Han-jun. "I'll show you our leopard preservation program." As they walked through the facility, Han-jun explained their work, protecting endangered leopard populations, studying their behaviors, and maintaining genetic diversity. "So you interfere very little with their development?" asked Ril Nexon, his voice showing clear confusion. "We try to let nature take its course when possible," Han-jun replied. "We only step in to protect them from extinction or treat injuries." They reached a large viewing area overlooking a forested enclosure. Below, 3 leopards rested in the shade of trees. They were beautiful, but compared to the alien's leopard, they seemed smaller, less uniform. "These are your leopards?" Ril Nexon asked, not hiding the disappointment in his voice. "Yes, that spotted one is a female from North Asia. The darker one is a melanistic variant, what we call a black panther, though it's the same species, and the larger male comes from a mountain adaptation line." The alien's leopard stood perfectly still, watching the earth cats with what almost looked like curiosity. "Why do you allow such variation?" asked Ril Nexon. "Would it not be better to select the best traits and enforce them across the population?" Han-jun tried to hide his irritation. "We believe diversity is strength. Different traits help the species survive in different conditions." "A primitive approach," Ril Nexon said. He pulled out a small device and scanned the leopards. "Your cats have genetic flaws that we eliminated from our leopards 500 years ago. Potential for eye defects, joint weaknesses, reduced muscle efficiency. But they also have unique adaptations," Han-jun countered. "The mountain variant can survive at high altitudes where oxygen is thin. The melanistic one has advantages in dense forests." Ril Nexon made a sound that the translator didn't catch, perhaps a laugh or scoff. "May I demonstrate something?" the alien asked. Han-jun nodded. Ril Nexon made a series of quick hand gestures. His leopard immediately responded, moving to the edge of the viewing platform. It stood on its hind legs and gave what sounded like a series of complex vocalizations. Below, the 3 earth leopards all looked up. The female hissed. The black one retreated deeper into the trees. The large male stood and paced nervously. "Your leopards don't even understand basic communication signals," Ril Nexon said. "Maris just asked them simple questions about territory and hunting preferences." "Our leopards communicate differently," Han-jun said defensively. "They're not designed to speak with aliens." Exactly my point. They are not designed at all. Rill Nexon's eyes changed shape, pupils widening. You waste their potential by letting random mutations guide their development. Han Jun took a deep breath. Perhaps we see potential differently. At that moment, the black leopard below emerged from the trees. It had circled around and was now stalking toward where the leopard's voice had come from, moving silently from shadow to shadow. Han Jun smiled slightly but said nothing. While you've been talking to me, Han Jun finally said, that leopard figured out how to approach unseen. No one taught him that. He adapted. Rill Nexon looked down with new interest. Clever. But cleverness without guidance leads to waste. They continued the tour, but the tension remained. When they reached the genetics lab, Rill Nexon examined their equipment with obvious disdain. Your technology is adequate, I suppose, but your methods are thousands of years behind ours. Maybe, Han Jun acknowledged. But Earth is sending Dr. Jeho to learn about your techniques. We're not against improving our knowledge. Dr. Jeho will be welcomed, Rill Nexon said. Perhaps she will help your people understand the benefits of proper genetic management. As the visit ended and the alien prepared to leave, his leopard perfectly at his side, Han Jun couldn't help asking one question. Your leopards are truly impressive, but do they ever surprise you? Rill Nexon tilted his head. Surprise? Why would we want that? Surprises mean unpredictability. Unpredictability means imperfection. Sometimes surprises solve problems you didn't know you had, Han Jun said quietly. The alien didn't respond, but as they walked away, Han Jun noticed the leopard look back once at the enclosure, where the black leopard was still watching from the shadows. 6 months had passed since first contact. Ambassador Sun Mai sat at the large round table in the United Nations building. Around her were representatives from 20 Earth nations. Across from them sat 5 Nagerans, their perfect posture making the humans look slouched and messy in comparison. We have enjoyed our cultural exchanges, said Ambassador Sol, the lead Nageran. His voice was smooth and calm. But now we wish to move our relationship forward. Sun Mai nodded. We are eager to establish trade agreements. Yes, trade. Sol's large eyes blinked slowly. The Nageran Collective has technologies your people desire. Medical advances, clean energy systems, faster than light travel components. The room grew quiet. These were exactly the technologies Earth needed most. And what does the Collective desire from Earth? Sun Mai asked, though she already knew there was little humans could offer such an advanced civilization. Very little, admitted Cole. Your art has some unique qualities, certain raw materials, but mostly, we seek intellectual stimulation. One of the other Nagerans, a female named Trisla, leaned forward. We propose a challenge. What kind of challenge? Asked the Russian representative. A contest, said Trisla. Between our leopards and your leopards. The room erupted in confused whispers. Sun Mai raised her hand for quiet. I don't understand, she said. Your leopards are genetically engineered for intelligence and physical perfection. Our leopards are natural animals. There's no fair comparison. Sol made a gesture that the humans had learned meant something like amusement or mild disagreement. That is exactly the point of the challenge, he said, to test whether your natural evolution approach has any merit compared to our 500 years of deliberate genetic improvement. Sun Mai felt her face grow warm. This seems designed to humiliate us. Not at all, said Trisla. We genuinely wish to see if there is any value in your different approach. The Chinese representative spoke up. What kind of contest do you propose? A hunting competition, said Cole. On a neutral planet with various terrains, 3 phases to test different skills. Your 3 best leopards against 3 of our standard leopards. And what are the stakes? Asked Sun Mai, trying to keep her voice steady. If we win, said Sol, Earth acknowledges the superiority of our genetic methods. You grant us exclusive rights to study and collect genetic samples from 50 of your most unique animal species. The room grew tense. Such access would give the Nigerians control over Earth's biodiversity. And if Earth wins? Sunmai asked. You receive full access to our genetic engineering technology, plus favorable terms on all trade agreements for the next 20 Earth years. The human delegates looked at each other. The offer was too good to ignore. We need time to discuss this, Sunmai said. Zol nodded. Of course, but not too long. The Vordath have offered to host the event in their neutral space. They await our answer. After the Nigerians left, the human delegates argued for hours. It's clearly a trap, said the German representative. Their leopards are designed for hunting. Ours are wild animals. But the technology they're offering could solve our energy crisis, countered the Indian delegate. Sunmai called Dr. Taiwan, who had been studying the Nigerians closely. What do you think? She asked him. Why are they really proposing this? Taiwan's face on the screen looked troubled. They truly believe their way is superior, but I also sense they're curious, maybe even worried that they've missed something in their drive for perfection. Can our leopards possibly compete? Not in standard tests. No. But Han-Jun has been working with the leopards at the New Korea Preserve, the ones that adapted after the climate change disasters. They're different. Sunmai thought for a moment. Different how? They've changed faster than they should have. Developed new behaviors. It's like the environmental pressure forced them to evolve quickly. Sunmai turned back to the delegates. I think we should accept the challenge. Why? Asked the Brazilian representative. So they can prove we're primitive. No, said Sunmai. Because they expect us to refuse. They think we know we're inferior. If we accept, we show confidence. And if we lose? Someone asked. Then we learn from them. But if there's even a small chance we might win. She left the sentence unfinished. The vote was close, but in the end, they decided to accept. When the Nigerians returned, Sunmai stood tall. Earth accepts your challenge, she said. We will select our 3 best leopards from the New Korea Preserve. For just a moment, she thought she saw surprise in Seoul's alien eyes. Excellent, the Nigerian said. We depart in 1 month. May the superior approach prevail. The New Korea Preserve stretched across what used to be farmland before the climate disasters. Now it was a mix of new forests, grasslands, and rocky hills, perfect for the leopards that had been relocated here 15 years ago. Han-Jun stood on the observation tower with his assistant Do-hyun. Below them, a large black leopard moved through the tall grass, almost invisible despite its size. Shadow, said Han-Jun, our first team member. Do-hyun looked worried. Are you sure? He's never been good with humans. He doesn't need to be good with humans. He needs to be good at hunting. Han-Jun checked something on his tablet. And his night vision is the best we've ever recorded. 3 times better than a normal leopard. The black cat below suddenly froze, then vanished completely into the grass. How did the melanistic variant develop so quickly? Asked Do-hyun. Black leopards used to be rare. When the forests burned and regrew, the nights became darker under the new dense trees. Black fur became an advantage for night hunting. Natural selection did the rest. They moved to another section of the preserve, a drier area with scattered trees and rocky outcrops. Here, they watched a female leopard with unusually pale spotted fur. She was lying on a sun-warmed rock, but her eyes tracked every movement around her. Dust, Han-Jun said. Our second team member. She's smaller than the others, Do-hyun observed. But faster, and she can go 3 days without water. When the droughts came, most leopards struggled. Her ancestors adapted. Han-Jun's voice held clear pride. She's perfect for endurance challenges. The Nigerians will still laugh at her, Do-hyun said. Their leopards are like machines. Machines break when conditions change unexpectedly, Han-Jun replied. Dust adapts. They drove to the final location, a higher elevation area where the preserve met the mountains. Here, they had to hike for 20 minutes before Han-Jun pointed to a rocky ledge above. There, our third team member. Do-hyun squinted, then gasped. On the ledge was the largest leopard he had ever seen. Its powerful shoulders and thick limbs made it look almost like a small tiger. "That stone," said Han-Jun, "the mountain variant. He's huge. How did this happen?" When prey became scarce in the lowlands, some leopards moved higher up the mountains. They needed more muscle to hunt the mountain goats and to stay warm at night. Stone looked down at them, then casually stretched and jumped to another ledge that seemed impossibly far away. "His problem-solving skills are off the charts," Han-Jun added. "The trackers can barely keep up with him. He figures out every trap or trick we use to monitor him." Do-hyun shook his head. "These three are impressive, but the Najuran leopards are the result of 500 years of intentional genetic engineering. Our leopards just got lucky with some helpful mutations." "Not luck," Han-Jun corrected. "Necessity. These leopards faced the worst environmental changes in 10,000 years. Most died. These are the descendants of the ones that adapted fast enough to survive." They walked back to their vehicle. As they drove to the research center, Do-hyun remained quiet, thinking. Finally, he asked, "What did you mean when you told Ambassador Sunmei these leopards shouldn't exist at all?" Han-Jun smiled slightly. "According to everything we knew about evolution speed before the climate crisis, these adaptations should have taken hundreds or thousands of years to develop. But these leopards changed in just a few generations. How is that possible? We're still figuring that out. But Dr. Yeonji has a theory. She's at the lab now. You'll meet her today." At the research center, they found a young woman studying genetic sequences on multiple screens. She turned when they entered, her eyes bright with excitement. "Han-Jun, I was just about to call you. I found something amazing in Stone's DNA samples." Han-Jun introduced Do-hyun, then asked, "What did you find?" Yeonji pointed to her screen. "See these gene sequences? They show signs of lateral gene transfer." "In simple words, please," said Do-hyun. "It means these leopards are picking up useful genes from other species," she explained. "Something in their cells is allowing them to adopt beneficial DNA from their environment. It's like their bodies are scanning for genetic solutions to survival problems." Han-Jun nodded. "This is why I chose these three. They're not just random mutations. They're actively adapting at a genetic level we've never seen before." Do-hyun looked at the screens, then at Han-Jun. "Does Ambassador Sunmi know this?" "Not the details, but she knows we have a secret weapon." Han-Jun looked at the genetic sequences. "The Najurans think they're the only ones who can control genetics. They're wrong." Yeonji smiled. "The difference is, they forced their changes. Our leopards chose theirs." The training facility had been built in just 2 weeks. It wasn't fancy, but it gave the Earth team a place to work with their leopards before the competition. Han-Jun watched as Eunji studied Shadow's movements in the night vision chamber. "Amazing," she said. "He can see in almost complete darkness." Shadow moved silently through the artificial forest. The only light came from a few stars simulated on the ceiling. But the black leopard moved as if it were daytime, easily avoiding obstacles and tracking the moving targets. "The Najurans train their leopards to follow commands," said Han-Jun, "but we're doing something different. We're learning from our leopards, not teaching them." Yeonji agreed. Dr. Tadwan entered the observation room. He had just returned from a meeting with the Najuran trainers. "How are their leopards doing?" Han-Jun asked. Tadwan's face was serious. "They're incredible. They follow complex commands perfectly. Their hunting efficiency is nearly 100%. "That sounds bad for us," said Do-hyun, who was updating their training records. "Maybe not," said Tadwan. "The Najuran training methods are very controlled. They practice in perfect conditions with specific targets. I'm not sure how they'll handle surprises." In the next chamber, Dust was running on a special treadmill. She had been going for over 4 hours without showing signs of tiring. "Her endurance is off the charts," said Han-Jun, "and look at how efficiently she moves." Yeon-ji nodded. "Her muscle cells have almost twice the mitochondria of a normal leopard, and her body uses water more efficiently than a camel." "Will that be enough against the leopards?" asked Do-hyun. "By itself, no," admitted Han-Jun, "but combined with our other advantages, maybe." They moved to the third chamber, where Stone was working through a puzzle box challenge. The large leopard was systematically testing different ways to open a container that held meat inside. "Watch this," said Yeon-ji. "We've never shown him this puzzle before." Stone examined the box from all angles. Then he pushed it against the wall at a specific angle and pressed down with his paw in exactly the right spot. The box popped open. "How did he figure that out so quickly?" asked Tadwan. "Stone doesn't just solve problems," explained Yeon-ji. "He understands physics. Weight, balance, leverage. His brain has new neural connections we've never seen in leopards before." As they watched, something unexpected happened. Shadow was released into Stone's chamber for a different test. Usually, leopards were territorial and would fight or avoid each other. But instead, the two cats seemed to communicate. They made soft sounds to each other, then started moving around the room in what looked like a coordinated pattern. "What are they doing?" asked Do-hyun. Han-Jun leaned forward, watching closely. "They're cooperating." Yeon-ji quickly brought up data on her tablet. "This is new behavior. Wild leopards are solitary hunters." They watched as Stone positioned himself on one side of a different puzzle box, while Shadow moved to the other side. Working together, they opened it easily and shared the meat reward inside. "This is incredible," said Tadwan. "Leopards don't hunt in groups." "These ones do," said Han-Jun softly. "At least sometimes." Yeon-ji was rapidly taking notes. The changing environment must have created conditions where cooperation occasionally provided an advantage. "The Nagerans won't expect this," said Han-Jun. "Their leopards are always handled individually." Later that day, they added Dust to the same training area. To everyone's surprise, all 3 leopards seemed to accept each other. They didn't become instant friends, but they tolerated each other's presence and occasionally worked together on the more complex challenges. That evening, Yeon-ji made an even more interesting discovery. She found Han-Jun in the lab, excitement clear on her face. "I've been studying their vocalizations," she said. "There's a pattern. They're not just making random sounds to each other." "What do you mean?" asked Han-Jun. "They've developed specific sounds for specific situations, like a simple language." She played a recording. "This sound Shadow makes always comes before they work together on something. And this one from Stone seems to indicate direction." "Exactly. In the wild, when food became scarce, the leopards that could occasionally cooperate had an advantage over strictly solitary hunters." Han-Jun smiled. "The Nagerans engineered their leopards to be perfect individual hunters. But our leopards evolved to do something their perfect cats never needed to learn." "Work together," said Yeon-ji. "This could be our edge," Han-Jun said. He looked at the 3 leopards, now resting in separate corners of the training area, but still aware of each other. "The Nagerans expect 3 individuals. We're bringing a team." The planet Vordath 3 hung in space like a blue-green jewel. It was uninhabited by intelligent life, but full of plants and animals. The perfect place for a hunting competition. Han-Jun looked out the window of the transport ship as they descended. His stomach felt tight with worry. Beside him, Yeon-ji checked the vital signs of their 3 leopards, who rested in special sleep chambers for the journey. "They're doing fine," she said. The chambers kept them calm during the trip. Ambassador Sunmai approached them. "We're landing in 10 minutes. The Nagerans are already here." "Of course they are," muttered Do-hyun. "Probably arrived perfectly on time." The Earth ship touched down on a flat plain near a cluster of temporary buildings. These would serve as the competition headquarters. As they stepped out, Han-Jun felt the warm air and smelled the strange but not unpleasant scent of alien plants. A group of tall, blue-gray aliens waited for them. 3 Najarans with their leopards standing perfectly beside them, and another group of aliens, shorter, with reddish skin and 4 arms each. "The Vordath," explained Ta-One quietly. "They're the neutral judges for the competition." Ambassador Xol stepped forward. "Welcome, humans. We are pleased you have arrived safely." Sun Li nodded politely. "Thank you for waiting. We're ready to begin whenever the judges decide." One of the Vordath spoke, their translator converting the clicks and whistles into English. "We will begin with introductions, then explain the 3 challenges. First, please present your animals." The Najarans went first. Their 3 leopards stood in a perfect line, identical in their golden-spotted beauty. Each was large, powerful, and moved with impossible grace. When their handlers gave silent commands, all 3 performed complex movements in perfect unison. "These are Maris, Solva, and Terrace," said Ambassador Xol. "Each represents the pinnacle of our genetic engineering. They can understand over 300 commands, track prey across any terrain, and achieve a hunting success rate of 99.7%. The Vordath judges nodded, clearly impressed. They made notes on their devices. Then it was Earth's turn. Han-Jun and his team brought forward their 3 leopards. Next to the perfect leopards, they looked irregular, less impressive. Shadow's black coat seemed dull compared to the gleaming gold of the Najaran's cats. Dust was noticeably smaller. Only Stone, with his massive build, drew murmurs of interest from the judges. "These are Shadow, Dust, and Stone," said Han-Jun. "Each has adapted to specific environmental challenges on Earth. Shadow has superior night vision. Dust has exceptional endurance. Stone has advanced problem-solving abilities." One of the Najarans made a sound that the translator didn't catch, but Han-Jun was pretty sure it was a laugh. "They do not respond to commands," asked one of the Vordath judges. "They respond to their environment," Han-Jun explained. "They make their own decisions based on the situation." The judge looked confused. "But how do you control them?" "We don't," said Han-Jun simply. This caused both the Najarans and the Vordath to exchange glances. The head judge cleared his throat, or whatever passed for a throat in Vordath anatomy. "Very well. Now I will explain the first challenge. It will test basic hunting efficiency in a controlled environment." A large screen lit up, showing a flat grassland with scattered trees. Small deer-like animals grazed there. Each team will send 1 hunter into this area. The goal is to catch as many quarry animals as possible in 1 hour. The hunt begins at midday. The Najarans chose their leopard named Solva. The Earth team selected Dust for her speed and endurance. As noon approached, both animals were positioned at starting points on opposite sides of the hunting ground. The Najaran handler gave Solva a series of hand signals. The leopard focused intently, muscles tense and ready. Han-Jun simply opened Dust's transport cage and stepped back. The pale spotted leopard looked around, sniffed the air, and seemed to assess the situation on her own. A loud tone sounded, signaling the start of the hunt. Solva moved with incredible speed and precision, heading directly toward the nearest group of prey animals. Her movements were beautiful to watch, every step perfectly placed, her path clearly planned for maximum efficiency. Dust took a different approach. She moved more slowly at first, circling wide around the grazing animals, using the scattered trees for cover. After 20 minutes, Solva had already caught 3 prey animals. Her technique was flawless. She would spot a target, stalk it using perfect cover, then make a lightning-fast rush that never failed. Dust had caught nothing yet. The Earth team looked worried. "What is she doing?" whispered Du-Yun. Han-Jun watched the screen carefully. "I think she's learning the patterns. Look how the herds move when Solva attacks from one side." Sure enough, Each time the Nigerian leopard made a kill, the remaining animals followed in predictable patterns, and Dust was positioning herself accordingly. When Dust finally moved, she drove a small group right into a natural trap, a corner where two ridges met. She caught two animals in quick succession. But it wasn't enough. By the end of the hour, Solva had caught 7 prey animals. Dust had caught only 4. "The first point goes to the Nigerian team," announced the head judge. The Nigerians looked pleased but not surprised. Ambassador Xol smiled at Sunmi. "An admirable effort," he said. "But the outcome was inevitable. Perfection always wins in controlled conditions." Sunmi nodded politely. "The competition isn't over yet." As they walked back to the camp, Hanjun didn't seem discouraged. "Don't worry," he told his team quietly. "This was their best challenge. The next ones are where we show our strength." The morning of the second challenge dawned with dark clouds gathering on the horizon. The Vordaf judges called both teams to the central meeting area. "Today's challenge will be different," said the head judge. "We will test adaptability in changing conditions." The large screen showed a map of the day's hunting grounds. It was divided into 4 zones: a dense forest, a rocky mountain area, a dry desert section, and a swampy wetland. "Each team will send 1 hunter," continued the judge. "They must catch prey in all 4 environments. Weather conditions will change throughout the day." The Nigerian team selected their leopard named Maris, who stood tall and alert next to its handler. For Earth, Hanjun chose Shadow, the black leopard. "An interesting choice," commented Ambassador Xol. "Your dark cat will be visible in 3 of the 4 environments." "We have our reasons," Hanjun replied simply. As the competitors were transported to the starting point, Yunji showed Hanjun the weather forecast on her tablet. "Look at this," she said. "A major storm system is moving in. By midday, visibility will be terrible." Hanjun smiled. "Perfect for Shadow." The challenge began. Both animals were released at the border between the forest and mountain zones. Maris immediately received a series of commands from its handler through a small earpiece. The golden leopard headed straight into the forest with confident steps. Shadow received no commands. The black leopard simply sniffed the air, looked around, and then slipped silently into the trees. On the viewing screens, everyone watched as Maris moved with perfect efficiency through the forest. Within 20 minutes, it had caught a small deer-like creature. The Nigerians nodded with satisfaction. "Your cat seems to have disappeared," said Ambassador Xol to Hanjun. "That's what Shadow does best," replied Hanjun. Suddenly, one of the prey counters beeped. Shadow had made a kill, deep in the darkest part of the forest, where the cameras barely penetrated. 1 point for each team," announced the judge. As both animals moved toward the mountain zone, the weather began to change. Dark clouds rolled in, and rain started to fall. The temperature dropped. Maris continued to receive constant guidance through its earpiece. The leopard moved methodically, following its programming for the new terrain. But its golden coat, perfect for the sunlit grasslands of the first challenge, stood out starkly against the dark rocks. Shadow, however, became almost invisible in the gloom. The black leopard moved from shadow to shadow, using the increasing darkness as cover. By midday, a full storm had developed. Rain poured down, and wind whipped across the landscape. The cameras struggled to maintain clear images. "These conditions are becoming problematic," stated the Nigerian handler, speaking for the first time. "Our equipment may be affected." "The challenge continues," said the head judge firmly. In the mountain zone, Maris seemed to hesitate. Its movements became less certain. Its handler pressed the communication device closer to his ear, trying to provide guidance despite the interference from the storm. Meanwhile, Shadow made another kill, a mountain goat-like creature caught on a narrow ledge. As the day progressed, the storm grew worse. In the desert zone, sand blew in blinding clouds. Maris followed its programming perfectly, but the changing conditions confused its sensors. It passed right by a hiding prey animal, something it would never have missed in clear weather. Shadow, relying on smell and sound more than sight, found and caught a burrowing creature despite the sandstorm. By late afternoon, when the competitors reached the swamp area, the storm had created flooding. Paths that had existed in the morning were now underwater. New channels had formed. Maris received updated commands but continued to struggle. The leopard's movements, once flawlessly graceful, now seemed stiff and hesitant. It followed its training exactly but couldn't adjust to the rapidly changing landscape. Shadow, however, simply adapted. When a path was blocked by water, the black leopard found another way. When usual hunting methods wouldn't work, it tried something different. As darkness fell, the final scores were tallied. Maris had caught prey in 3 zones but failed in the flooded swamp. Shadow had succeeded in all 4 environments. "The second point goes to Earth," announced the head judge. Shadow wasn't fighting the environment, said Han-Jun. He was working with it. 1 victory each, noted Ambassador Sunmai. Tomorrow's final challenge will decide everything. That night, the Najaran handlers huddled together, reprogramming their final leopard. They had not expected to need backup strategies. Meanwhile, Earth's team rested well. Tomorrow, they would send in Stone, the problem solver. And Han-Jun had a feeling the Najarans weren't prepared for what he could do. The tension was thick in the morning air as both teams gathered for the final challenge. With the score tied at 1 victory each, everything would be decided today. The head Vordath judge stepped forward, all 4 of his arms holding different devices. The final challenge will test true hunting intelligence and adaptability. We have created a special arena with multiple environments connected together. The screen showed a large circular area divided into 6 different sections: forest, desert, mountains, swamp, grassland, and a strange purple terrain that no one recognized. "What is that purple area?" asked Ambassador Sunmei. "An alien environment from another world," explained the judge. "Something neither Earth nor Najaran animals have ever experienced." Ambassador Xol looked concerned for the first time. This was not in the original agreement. "True hunting ability means facing the unknown," replied the judge firmly. "This is the ultimate test." The judge continued. "Each team will send in their final hunter, but there is one more element." He paused dramatically. "Today, the prey fights back." The screen showed images of large, deer-like creatures with sharp horns and powerful legs. They looked dangerous. "These are Vorsal herd beasts," said the judge, "intelligent and defensive. They work together to protect each other." Han-Jun felt a surge of hope. This was exactly the kind of challenge where Stone's problem-solving abilities would shine. The Najarans selected their final leopard, Taurus. It was the largest of their 3, with muscles that rippled powerfully under its golden coat. Its handler spent a long time giving it detailed instructions before the challenge. Han-Jun prepared Stone, the mountain leopard. Unlike the Najaran handler, he simply scratched Stone behind the ears and whispered, "Do what you do best." A scientist approached the Earth team. He had Korean features but wore a Najaran uniform. Han-Jun recognized him immediately. "Minho," he said coldly, "I heard you were working with them now." Minho smiled thinly. "The Najarans understand perfection. Han-Jun, something you never did." He glanced at Stone with obvious disdain. "Your mutant has no chance against Terrace. I personally upgraded his genetics last night." "You changed the leopard right before the competition?" Han-Jun asked, surprised. "Just some minor improvements to help with the unknown environment," Minho replied. "Nothing against the rules." As Minho walked away, Yunjai looked worried. "Can they do that? Change their animal at the last minute?" "It's risky," said Han-Jun. "Quick genetic changes might have unexpected effects." Both animals were transported to opposite sides of the arena. The judges announced that they would have 3 hours to hunt as many Vorsal beasts as possible. The challenge began. Terrace moved with incredible speed into the arena, heading straight for the grassland section, where a group of Vorsal beasts grazed. Its golden coat gleamed in the sunlight. Stone took a different approach. The large mountain leopard first climbed a rocky outcropping and spent several minutes just watching the arena, observing how the prey animals moved and interacted. "Your cat is wasting time," commented Ambassador Xol. "He's thinking," replied Hanjun. In the grassland, Terrace launched its first attack. Its speed was breathtaking as it raced toward a vorsal that had strayed from the herd. But something unexpected happened. As Terrace approached, the target vorsal made a strange call, and immediately 3 others formed a defensive circle, their sharp horns pointing outward. Terrace pulled up short, clearly confused by this behavior. It circled the defensive formation, looking for a weakness but finding none. Meanwhile, Stone had moved silently into the forest section. Rather than attacking directly, he pushed a dead tree branch until it fell with a loud crash on the opposite side of where a lone vorsal was drinking. The startled animal ran directly toward Stone, who caught it easily. "First point to earth," announced the judge. As the challenge continued, Terrace tried again in the grassland. This time, it managed to break through the defensive circle and catch a vorsal. But the effort seemed to take a toll on the leopard. Its movements were becoming less fluid. "Something's wrong with Terrace," Yunji said quietly. "Look at how it's moving." Hanjun nodded. The rushed genetic modifications might be destabilizing. The real test came when both hunters moved into the purple alien environment. The ground was covered with a strange spongy material, and the air had an odd smell. Terrace hesitated at the edge, waiting for commands that couldn't account for this unknown situation. Stone, however, tested the ground carefully before proceeding. He adapted his hunting strategy, using the bouncy surface to make surprising leaps from unexpected angles. By the end of the second hour, both animals had caught 3 vorsal beasts each. The competition was tied, but Terrace was showing clear signs of distress. Its perfect movements were becoming jerky and uncoordinated. "What's happening to it?" asked a Vordath judge. Minho looked worried. The new genetic sequences might be rejecting each other. As they entered the final hour, everything would depend on which hunter could adapt better to the most difficult challenges. The final hour of the challenge began with tension filling the air. Both teams watched anxiously as their hunters faced the most difficult test yet. In the center of the arena, a large group of vorsal beasts had gathered. At least 20 of them stood in a tight defensive formation, horns pointing outward in all directions. They were the last remaining prey, and whoever could hunt them would win the competition. Terrace, the Najaran leopard, stalked around the circle, looking for a weakness. Its movements were becoming increasingly erratic. Sometimes it would move with its old perfect grace, then suddenly twitch or stumble. "What's happening to it?" Ambassador Sunmay asked. Minho looked worried. "The new genetic modifications are conflicting with the original programming. It's causing neural instability." Ambassador Xol shot him an angry look. "You assured me the changes were safe." "They were supposed to be," Minho replied defensively. "But the stress of the competition might be accelerating the rejection process." On the other side of the arena, Stone watched the vorsal herd from a hidden position in the rocky area. He made no move to attack. Instead, he seemed to be studying the situation. "What is your leopard waiting for?" asked a Vordath judge. Hanjun shook his head. "I don't know. He's making his own plan." Suddenly, everyone's attention was drawn to movement at the edge of the arena. Shadow and Dust, Earth's other 2 leopards, were pacing anxiously in their holding areas. They could see the arena, but couldn't enter. "They want to help Stone," Yunji said quietly. "Impossible," said Ambassador Xol. "The challenge is for individual hunters only." But then, something remarkable happened. Stone moved to the edge of the arena nearest to where Shadow was held. The 2 leopards made eye contact, and Stone made a series of soft sounds. Then he did the same with Dust. "They're communicating," Yunji whispered excitedly. Stone returned to the hunt. But now, he moved differently. He began using tactics that seemed more suited to Shadow's hunting style, staying in darkness and moving silently. Then he switched to a stalking method similar to Dust's approach in the first challenge. He's using their strategies, Han-Jun realized. They shared hunting knowledge. Meanwhile, Terrace made its move. The golden leopard rushed at the Vorsal herd with incredible speed, trying to break through their defenses. But the prey animals held firm, and Terrace was forced to retreat. The effort seemed to make its condition worse. Its back leg dragged slightly as it moved away. Stone approached the problem differently. He began pushing small rocks down a slope near the herd. Each rock made the Vorsal beasts turn slightly to track the noise. Stone kept this up, moving around the circle, gradually causing the herd to spread their attention in multiple directions. "Clever," said the head judge. "It's dividing their focus." Then Stone did something unexpected. He caught a small burrowing animal and released it near the Vorsal herd. The creature darted through the defensive circle, causing momentary confusion. In that instant, Stone attacked from the opposite side, quickly catching one of the Vorsal beasts. "Point to earth," announced the judge. Terrace tried to copy the strategy, but its movements were now severely compromised. When it attempted to run, its back legs failed completely. The beautiful leopard collapsed to the ground, twitching. "Medical emergency," called Minho. "We need to withdraw Terrace immediately." The judges allowed Najuran handlers to enter the arena and remove the struggling leopard. Minho ran diagnostic scans on the animal. "The genetic modifications are breaking down its nervous system," he said with horror. "Its perfect design can't handle the contradictory programming." "Can you fix it?" asked Ambassador Xol. Minho shook his head. "Perfect systems are fragile. Change one element, and the whole thing falls apart." With Terrace withdrawn, Stone continued hunting. In the last minutes of the challenge, he managed to catch 2 more Vorsal beasts, bringing Earth's final score to 6, while the Najurans remained at 3. "Earth is the winner of the competition," announced the head judge. The Earth team celebrated quietly, aware of the Najurans' distress over their injured leopard. Later, as both teams prepared to depart, Minho approached Han-Jun. "I was wrong," he admitted. "Perfect design isn't always better." "It's not about better or worse," Han-Jun replied. "It's about different approaches. Your way creates perfect animals for known conditions. Our way allows for adaptation to the unknown." Ambassador Sun Mei and Sol signed the agreement, granting Earth access to Najuran genetic technology and favorable trade terms. But more importantly, a new understanding had been reached. "Perhaps," said Ambassador Xol, watching as Stone reunited with Shadow and Dust, the 3 leopards acknowledging each other with quiet sounds, "there is something to be learned from allowing natural diversity after all." Han-Jun smiled as he watched Earth's leopards. They weren't perfect, but they had something more valuable than perfection. They had the ability to change, to work together, to face the unexpected. "They perfected their leopards," he said quietly. "We let ours mutate, and in an unpredictable universe, that made all the difference."